being here today. We've had a little technical difficulties. I guess what we're saying in here is going into the auditorium, so a whole bigger crowd get to hear this message too, we hope. So I'm Christy Zukovich with Sedgwick County. We're glad you're joining us here today. We have a number of speakers, which is why we will have them speak from the table versus having a bunch of people jump up and down for ease of moving through the program. We do have this afternoon Wichita Mayor Carl Brewer, Sedgwick County Commission Chairman Jim Skelton, from Wichita State University, the Hugo Law School of Urban and Public Affairs, Dr. Mark Glacier, Misty Bruckner, and Kareem Bannon, and John Schlegel from the Wichita Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Department. We will not be taking questions today from the audience because we do have so much information and we know that your time is very busy. We will all have all of these folks available, and we will be we'll be having them out in the hallway to speak afterwards. I'm getting the sign. It looks like we're going to be turning stuff off. No microphone. Okay. There's not going to be any microphones. Okay. We will try to keep noise down and speakers speak loudly. Mayor.
Okay, first of all, let me say good afternoon to everyone, and I want to thank you and so many people for joining us as community partners. And we have representatives from various different organizations and groups throughout our community that are here today, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be able to join us here. What we have today is an unprecedented announcement for our community, and we're happy to join and want to thank our partners, Sedgwick County, Wichita State University, in working together to conduct a community-wide survey on critical issues facing our community for now and in the future. We wanted this survey to do three important things: raise awareness on public issues, identify priorities that will best serve all of our community, and initiate and expand the conversation about investing in our future. In late January, more than 4,100 people responded to our community survey to share their priorities on critical issues facing our community. Our citizens took the time and the opportunity to share their vision for Wichita and Sedgwick County. I'd like to say thank you to all that completed the surveys and sent them in, and all that emailed their information after reviewing them online. We know that you believe in our neighbors, in your community, and our future. And we know that we have a lot of pride in who we are, but more importantly, who we as a community can be. We know how citizens believe they can live in a great city, they live in a great community, but they also believe in its unlimited potential to be better. We know that you want to be part of this community conversation. That's just a few shouldn't decide what is best for our community, but that we will all need to be involved as a community to determine what our future is and to succeed. So thank you to all of you that have and will join in the conversation, and we look forward to the announcement today and getting started on the work that's ahead of us. Okay.
Well, thank you, Mayor. As you know, we live in busy times. We know that individuals are focused on their careers, their jobs, on school. They are busy with their families and helping their kids with activities. They are busy helping community organization, and some are involved in civic duties or church groups. But despite busy lifestyles, I'm encouraged that more than 4,100 citizens responded to the community survey. They have demonstrated they are interested in helping define our community's future. These individuals have said it is important to think about how we live in our community, how we leave our community for our children and great-grandchildren. These 4,100 people represent us, and I think they have said that our community deserves a strong future. We know that citizens look to local government to provide basic services to help keep our community safe and to help keep our community vibrant. Every member of the community is a stakeholder in defining those solutions, and we are always better off when we engage citizens in creating a preferred future. We are now at the beginning of the conversation, and we need to hear all kinds of voices in this conversation. There are no jurisdictional boundaries that keep us from connecting and working together to create solutions for a better future. We shouldn't be afraid of what might happen. Instead, we should focus on deciding how our future should look. Now at this time, I'd like to introduce Misty Bruckner, an Associate Director for the Center of Urban Studies at the Hugo Wall School.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to Wichita State. We are glad to have so many of you here in this room, and thank you for taking time to come. I serve as the Associate Director at the Hugo Wall School, and my role was to be the project coordinator for the survey and engagement effort. We want to thank the City of Wichita and Sedgwick County for this opportunity to work with them, but also for their leadership in this engagement effort. Joining me today is Corrine Bannon. She is a Public Affairs Associate at the school. Corrine was in charge of all the logistics for the survey, including the sending out the survey, the data collection, and coding all of those 4,100 surveys that came back into the school. Also joining me today is Professor Mark Glazier. He's the principal investigator on this project. Mark has worked with local governments for more than 25 years. He specializes in the use of citizen surveys for the purposes of strengthening citizen-government relations and allegiance to community. He has conducted surveys throughout our country, including Kansas, Florida, Virginia, as well as other states, and international application of his surveys. Dr. Glazier research emphasized the importance of origin theory and practices, and his work appears in more than 65 academic, professional, and technical publications. So this time I'm going to let Corrine talk a little bit about the process of the survey.
The survey results we are presenting today are just one facet of a larger community conversation that began in 2012. Last fall, 4 community study groups were held to discuss the major issues confronting the City of Wichita and Sedgwick County. Citizens were randomly selected from the Sedgwick County voter database and invited to participate. The study group conversations provided important input that helped guide the development of the final survey. In early 2013, 25,000 citizens were randomly selected from the Sedgwick County voter database and sent a survey to complete. The random sample was drawn in proportion to the percentage of the Sedgwick County population that lives inside and outside the Wichita city limits. Approximately 41 surveys were completed and returned in February to the Hugo Wall School, where staff and students spent hundreds of hours entering the data. Dr. Glazier began analyzing the results of the survey in March, and that information is being released today. There is much more data analysis and research to come, but the results being released today provide a good first look at what is important to our community, and the results provide a great foundation to continue the community conversation. And with that, Misty?
Yeah. Before Dr. Glazier gives you some of the specifics of the survey results, we wanted to talk just a little bit about how the survey was formatted and some major themes that are coming out of this survey as all of the responses that follow. First, the survey asked citizens to think about community interest and priorities, to not think of themselves as individual interests, but as what is best for the community, to put themselves in the role of public officials. It asked them to think about investment priorities, and lastly, it asked citizens if they are willing to pay for those priorities. The survey does not go into details of specific changes for investments or spendings or types of taxes or amounts or fees. There are numerous options that can and could be considered for this, but this point of the survey is to provide a foundation for the conversation. It doesn't provide final answers to very complex questions that still must come. We know that some of the major themes that come from this survey are that we know that more than 75% of our community members feel that political divisions are negatively impacting our community's ability to respond to economic challenges that we face. Finding ways to have conversations to move forward together is important. We also know that citizens in Sedgwick County have an incredible commitment to the future of our community. We're able to define this in 3 main ways. First, more than 72% of the people responding agreed that they could rise above their own personal self-interest to do what is best for the community. When asked questions regarding a commitment and willingness to do their part to make the community better for the next generation, more than 86% agreed that that should be a priority for our community. And finally, more than 93% indicated responsibility that we have to help create an opportunity for all citizens if citizens are willing to do their part. These types of responses indicate significant commitment to our community, not just personal interest, but what's best for the public good, including what we leave behind for that next generation. As Mark shares the results of these sections of the survey, I would encourage you to keep those themes in mind: community interest, next generation, and creation of opportunity. Those priorities reflected in these responses to the survey's questions. Those are expectations that citizens not only have of each other, but they have for local government as well. Dr. Glazier?
I will be giving you a feel for sort of an overview of what the important investment decisions are and some of the citizen investment priorities. We'll start with economic development. I want to remind you that these findings are not the answer. They are the starting point for a public dialogue. And so we'll give you sort of a general feel for where the citizens are right now. One of the central issues that we looked at was economic development. We asked them about short-term and long-term strategies for economic development. Specifically, we asked them about the use of public resources for economic development. There was strong support for both types of economic development, but particularly strong support for long-term economic development. An example of short-term economic development that was supported was citizens are particularly supportive of strategies that encourage businesses to train school students, young adults, and to retrain adults. One of the conditions that they put on the use of these public resources stems from they want to see the city and the county demonstrate that the community benefits coming from investments in economic development are greater than the public dollars that we've invested in there. In other words, they're talking about return on investment. They want to see that they're getting a good return on investment. An example of a couple of the long-term strategies that we looked at were improving quality of life to attract and retain young talent in the community. The investments downtown, in some respects, were an attempt to hold that young talent in the community. Old Town is especially attractive for 20-somethings and 30-somethings. They also want to see more collaboration between higher education, including innovation, new products, and business formation. The city, the county, the school district, and the university are working together to develop these long-run strategies. About half the citizens indicated that they want to invest more in economic development, and about nearly 2/3 say that they're willing to pay increased taxes to support that. About 1/3 of the citizens think that we should invest more in downtown, and about 41% indicated they were willing to pay for that. Neighborhoods can be an important foundation for building community. Assuming the citizens still have confidence in the neighborhood is an important form of community for them. Some would argue that neighborhoods are not nearly as important as they once were. That's not what the citizens say. The vast majority of citizens, 97%, say that they are willing to work with their neighbors to improve their neighborhood. So neighborhoods remain a strong and important type of community, and I think it'll become more important in the future. About half of those citizens indicated that their particular neighborhood organization needs to be strengthened if they are going to get involved in neighborhood improvement and public safety. There are a few surprises in the survey in terms of the strength of support, and I'll point some of those out, at least what I thought were important. They want to develop local solutions for homelessness. 82% of the citizens indicated that we should develop local solutions for homelessness, 2/3 of those indicating that they'd be willing to support those solutions. 88% said local government should invest in neighborhoods when neighbors are willing to do their part. And 50% of the citizens said they would be willing to pay for investment in low-income neighborhoods. Nearly 99% of the citizens expressed a willingness to work with their community police officers, give them the information that they need to prevent and solve crimes. So strong support for community policing. In transportation, we looked at two different types of infrastructure. More traditional infrastructure like highways and streets versus public transportation. We gave them some options about continuing to invest in streets or whether they wanted to back off of that and just do the bare minimum. 90% said we should continue to invest in streets. In fact, 59% said we should invest more than we are investing right now. And overall, about 2/3 are willing to pay for these kinds of street investments. Nearly 48% of the citizens think that local governments should invest in developing walking and bicycle paths. About 41% are willing to support that. Another sort of surprising result from the survey, 3/4 of the citizens feel that local governments should improve public transportation, including extending bus routes and expanding evening and weekend service. So there's pretty strong support for public transportation. They want to get started now, so it'll be there when we need it in the future. Another one of those sort of surprising results, 91% feel that government should meet the transportation needs of vulnerable populations, including older citizens, somehow disadvantaged citizens, and lower income citizens. 2/3 want increased investments in public transportation. About 55% are willing to pay for those. One more surprising result, nearly 3/4 feel that we should look at investing in the passenger train service, the interstate passenger train service between Wichita, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Fort Worth. And about 2/3 are willing to pay for that. Water resources was the single most important item in the whole survey. So citizens registered strong support for a lot of different things. The thing was water. Almost 97% believe that the community should develop additional resources of water to ensure that the community will have adequate supply of water in the future. They feel like we should act now. We need to invest in the infrastructure, and they indicated some willingness to change their consumption patterns to help the situation. More than 80% thought we should invest more in these water issues, and about 80% indicated they would be willing to pay for these investments. They're not so sure they want to pay for them through higher water rates, but they indicated they'll pay for them in some form. One of the things that we were trying to figure out is have the investments that local government has made over the years, do they feel that these investments make the community a better place because we made these investments? And we gave them sort of a laundry list of some of the investments that they might be interested in. And they range from about 71 to 92% support for those, including Kellogg Expressway, Aquifer Storage and Recovery System, the National Center for Aviation Training, revitalization of downtown, walking and bicycle paths, Art Museum, Sedgwick County Zoo, Intrust Bank Arena. We hope going back to what Misty was talking, and we hope that when the community dialogue goes forward, we'd like to see that dialogue focus on basically advancing the public interest, and there are three sort of components to that. One is that both citizens and government must rise above self-interest by focusing on the well-being of the community. I think John, sort of paraphrasing John Nalbandian, he cautions local governments, saying that you better get better at distinguishing between community interest and self-interest, because the forces out there that are advancing self-interest are getting better at advancing their agenda. So, one important issue. A strong theme that runs throughout the survey is we need to balance the needs and concerns of current and future generations. Citizens are much more concerned about the future than we expected. Actually, we've done a series of surveys that have been showing that. In this survey, same kind of results. They want to see that we're doing something for future generations. There's also strong support for creating opportunity for all citizens. And so if those three central themes should be driving the conversation as we move forward in the dialogue.
Well, I'd like to start my comments by thanking the university for undertaking this survey. I was witness to a portion of the work that went into this, and I think this is a pretty extraordinary effort, and I wanted to express my appreciation for them undertaking this task. And that's because one of the ways in which the survey results will be used is to help guide the development of the new Wichita-Sedgwick County Comprehensive Plan. The working title that we've come up with for this initiative is the Community Investments Plan. The major focus of the plan will be to establish the community's priorities for public investment in infrastructure and facilities over the next 20 years, based on our willingness as a community to pay for that infrastructure and those facilities. Our future growth and development as a community will be defined by where and how much we invest in public infrastructure and facilities. The WSU survey was intended to create a general awareness of the infrastructure investment issues that we face as a community, to identify initial community priorities for future public infrastructure investment, and to assess at a general level the community's willingness to pay for future public investments. We will present the survey results to a 23-member Community Investments Plan Steering Committee over the next several months, as the university is able to finish tabulation and analysis of the data. The survey results will provide the steering committee with an important basis for developing alternative future scenarios for community infrastructure investment. And then later this year, the steering committee will begin engaging the community in a dialogue about these alternative scenarios, and by early next year, it should be ready to recommend a preferred scenario for the comprehensive plan. It's important to emphasize, as others have already today, that the survey is just the beginning of an ongoing discussion about what our community wants for its future. There will be many other opportunities over the next year or so for the public to provide input into the community investment plan development. We also anticipate that the survey results will be used more generally by local government decision makers as they make critical resource allocation decisions in what is a time of fiscal constraint and diminishing resources. So again, a big thank you to WSU for completing this important work. We'll put it to good use.
Thanks, John. And again, I want to thank all that were participating and that were part of the conversation about the future of our great community. The initial response has been promising and inspiring, and we need to build on the pride and the enthusiasm that we have as a community as individuals came together and gave their input. Starting June 1, we will be taking this conversation to you, to your communities, to your neighborhoods, to your organizations. We want to hear your thoughts and your priorities and investments and on the future of our community. Our citizens have clearly demonstrated consistently that they care about the community and our future. Citizens and businesses contributed more than $15.6 million to United Way last fall. More than 5,500 community volunteers helped serve more than 425 meals each day, 365 days a year through the Lord's Diner. Love Wichita, the project there to work to be able to help the entire community and beautify the community. It started in 2009 and has grown to more than 40 churches and 240 projects of need. This is neighborhoods and neighbors helping neighbors. More than 100 volunteers that came out last Saturday with our downtown Wichita cleanup, spending their time cleaning, painting, and planting trees in the community. And this is just a sample of the great things that we happen to have here that happen every single day in our community. And I'm excited about what's going on and what's happening. We have a community spirit and a community commitment. And I hope that each and every one of you will join us as we come out to your communities and we start getting involved and we ask for dialogue and giving direction as to what you would like to see in our community and in the future.
Thank you very much. I would ask if we could give all of our speakers a hand.